At just 16 years old, he stepped onto the international stage, and suddenly the conversation changed. Not about the future, not about potential, but about whether we were already watching the next global superstar of football. No fear, no hesitation, just pure confidence, taking on defenders, creating moments, playing like the pressure didn't exist. And in a tournament where every touch is judged, every mistake amplified, he looked like he belonged. But that's what makes this story different, because the World Cup isn't supposed to be a stage for kids. It's where legends are tested, where careers are defined, where the weight of an entire nation can break even the best players in the world. And yet, here he is, a teenager carrying the expectations of Spain national team, playing with a freedom that doesn't make sense for his age. So how did Lamine Yamal go from a kid in Barcelona's academy to a player already being trusted on football's biggest stage? And with the world watching closely, is this the beginning of something historic? Long before the spotlight, before the expectations, before the world even knew his name, Lamine Yamal was just a kid growing up on the outskirts of Barcelona. But his story wasn't built on hype. It was built on identity. With roots tracing back to different cultures, he grew up with a unique mix of influences on and off the pitch. And from the very beginning, football wasn't just something he played. It was how he expressed himself. On small pitches, in tight spaces, he developed a style that couldn't be taught. Quick feet, sharp decisions, the ability to glide past players in ways that felt effortless. And while other kids played with energy, he played with control. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. He saw the game differently, always one step ahead, always aware of what was coming next. Those around him started to notice. Coaches, scouts, teammates. Because even at that age, it was clear this wasn't just talent. This was something being shaped for a much bigger stage. That stage came at FC Barcelona inside the academy, where the game is taught not just to be played, but to be understood. And from the moment Lamine Yamal stepped into La Masia, it became obvious he wasn't just another prospect. In a system known for producing some of the most intelligent players in football history, he stood out for something different. Creativity, unpredictability, the kind of natural flair that can't be coached. Defenders couldn't read him. One moment he was slowing the game down, the next he was gone. A quick shift, a sudden burst, a decision made before anyone else even realized what was happening. And as he moved through the ranks, one thing became clear. He wasn't just progressing. He was skipping steps, playing above his age, competing against older players, and still making it look easy. Because even in a place built for elite talent, he looked like he was ahead of it. That's when everything accelerated. Because at an age where most players are still hidden away in youth teams, Lamine Yamal was called up to the first team of FC Barcelona. No long build-up, no gradual introduction, just a direct step into one of the biggest clubs in the world. And once again, he didn't hesitate. Every time he touched the ball, there was intent, taking on defenders, creating chances, playing with a confidence that didn't match his age. It wasn't just about skill, it was about belief. Fans started to notice, teammates started to trust him, and in a team searching for its next identity, he began to look like part of the answer. But this wasn't just about club football anymore, because performances like this don't stay unnoticed for long. And when the national team comes calling, everything changes. It didn't take long for the next step to arrive, because when a player this young starts performing on a stage like FC Barcelona, the attention doesn't stay at club level. It spreads fast. And soon enough, Lamine Yamal was called up to the Spain national team, not as a long-term project, not as someone to experience the environment, but as a real option. That's what made it different. Because international football, especially tournaments like the World Cup, isn't a place where managers take risks on teenagers. The margins are too small. The pressure is too high. And yet, when he stepped onto that stage, nothing about his game changed. Same confidence, same creativity, same willingness to take responsibility in moments where most players hesitate. He didn't look like someone trying to prove himself. He looked like someone who already belonged there. And suddenly the conversation shifted. Not, is he ready? But how far can he go? And that's when the pressure truly arrived. Because once you step onto the international stage that early, everything changes. For Lamine Yamal, it wasn't just about performances anymore. It was about expectation. Every touch analysed, every decision questioned, every game compared to players who had spent years at the top. At Spain national team, history matters. Identity matters. And wearing that shirt means carrying the weight of generations before you. For a teenager, that pressure is supposed to slow you down, make you play safe, make you disappear in big moments. But with him, something felt different. Instead of shrinking, he kept asking for the ball. Instead of avoiding risk, he kept taking players on. Still, the doubts were there. Could he really handle the biggest tournaments? Could he deliver when it mattered most? Or was this rise happening too fast, too early? Because in football, talent gets you noticed, but only the biggest stages reveal the truth. And this is where everything started to shift. Because instead of being protected, instead of being used carefully, Lamine Yamal was trusted, not just as a young talent, but as a player who could make a difference. At Spain national team, that trust meant responsibility, real minutes, real decisions, moments where the game is on the line and the ball still finds you. And when those moments came, he didn't hesitate, taking on defenders in tight spaces, creating chances where nothing seemed possible, playing with the same freedom he had as a kid just now on the biggest stage. It wasn't about age anymore. It was about impact. Because the more he played, the more one thing became clear. He wasn't there to learn. He was there to influence games. And once a player reaches that point, there's no going back. And now, it feels like the game is speeding up around him while he stays completely in control of both FC Barcelona and the Spain national team. Lamine Yamal isn't just a young option anymore. He's becoming a solution. Every time he receives the ball, something shifts. Defenders hesitate. Space is open. The tempo changes because they know what's coming and still can't stop it. It's not just the dribbling, it's the timing, the decision-making, the calmness in moments where everything is moving too fast for everyone else. On the biggest stage, where pressure is supposed to break young players, he looks untouched by it, creating chances, driving attacks, playing like he's been there for years. With the World Cup looming, the expectations are rising even higher because this is no longer about potential. This is about whether a teenager can step into football's biggest tournament and leave as something much bigger. But what truly sets Lamine Yamal apart isn't just what he does with the ball, it's how he sees the game. There's a calmness in his decisions that doesn't match his age, a patience in tight spaces, a confidence to try things others wouldn't even consider. He doesn't rush, he doesn't panic. Even under pressure he plays like time moves slower for him. And that changes everything. Because in the biggest tournaments, when the margins are tight and the pressure is at its highest, the players who succeed aren't always the fastest or the strongest. They're the ones who stay in control. That's where his identity becomes clear. Not just a talented winger, not just a young prospect, but a player who plays the game on his own terms. Someone who doesn't react to the moment, but shapes it. From the streets around Barcelona to the biggest stage in international football, Lamine Yamal has already moved faster than almost anyone expected. At an age where most players are still learning the game, he's already influencing it, creating chances, changing matches, and carrying the hopes of Spain national team into a new era. But what makes his story different is that it hasn't even fully begun yet. Because with the World Cup approaching, the spotlight is about to get brighter, the pressure heavier, the stage bigger than anything he's ever experienced. And this time, it won't just be about potential. It'll be about moments. Moments that define careers. Moments that create legends. And if everything we've seen so far is any indication, this isn't just the rise of a young talent. This might be the beginning of something historic.